Hello, welcome back to my channel, Talented Reads. Today's video, it's just gonna be a short one. Someone, Kira, I believe it was you, made a comment on another video asking about how I annotate my books, because I think sometimes you can see the markings, and then I made a comment about listening to a book on audio, and then I wanted to purchase this so that I could go back and annotate it. So I will preface this video by saying I'm very new to annotating my books. I used to firmly believe in the non-destruction of books, like they all have to be in pristine condition, wear the white gloves, the whole thing. I don't feel that way so much anymore. I mean, obviously I feel that way towards, like special edition books, or I have a few like collectible books. Obviously I feel that way towards those, but for the most part I've kind of gotten over that. I've picked up a few used editions in my book life, and I came across one that actually was annotated, and it's one of my favorite books because I just love thinking about like how another person receives something. So I've kind of gotten over that, and I will tell you, I have no real like official process for annotating my books. In fact, what I choose to do is probably not even considered annotating, but it's what I do. Since I'm new to it, I probably would expand on it at some point, but it's what works for me now. Now, as far as why I annotate, I don't do it to every book, and for me it really depends on what I'm getting out of the book. I don't go into a book planning to annotate it. It kind of is something that once I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, this is a good thing, I want to remember this, and then I'm like, right? So it's more of just a way to remember certain passages and whatever. I don't have like a color correspondence. I kind of just pick whatever tab is closer to me, and that's what I do. So I have some examples here of some books that I've annotated, so I thought I would go through and kind of talk about like maybe why I chose to annotate them, what I'm looking for, right? So we'll do a basic one first. So I did a Stephen King challenge in which I chose some books of his to read, and then I would, because he apparently does, oh no, stop. He loves food, and so there's always a lot of food references in his books, and so I bought a cookbook, and so I would read the book until it came across that recipe that the cookbook was talking about, and so then I would make the recipe. It was very fun. I'll leave the video in the description box. But so what I wanted to do is at least mark the recipe, which I chose to do in another color. So this purple one here is my mark of like the recipe reference, and then there were other food references that were in the book that I thought would be fun to maybe come back to at some point, so I've actually tabbed those other references in here. So again, very different than how I would approach another book, but that is kind of a reason why I would opt to do that. Another one is Clown in a Cornfield. This is a slasher book, and so I knew that going into it, and so I started reading it, and I mean, like, the killing starts to happen immediately. And so I was like, ooh, I thought it would be fun to, like, at the end of the book have a body count. And so I started tabbing every time someone dies, and then, like, chaos happened, and it was just too much to keep track of, so I kind of abandoned it. But, yeah, that would have been a fun concept maybe for a different kind of slasher book. As far as nonfiction goes, I would say that's probably the most genre that I choose to annotate, just because I'm already going into it expecting to receive something out of it. Annotating fiction is probably what I'll say is more newer to me. But this is a book that I recently read. It is a memoir from Michelle Zauner, and it is just absolutely a beautiful memoir. She spoke a lot about culture, human connection, grief, and it was just very beautiful, and so I opted to keep a lot of those passages, especially the ones on grief. I appreciated the way that she spoke about it. I think a lot of books tend to kind of shy away from that because it's a scary process, but Michelle, I mean, just hit it head on, and there was just a lot of good things that came out of it. And again, you know, her culture is very food based, and so there was a lot of good passages about making food, and I happen to love Asian food, and so I kind of kept some of that as well. Yeah, there's no recipes or anything, but just the way that she talks about it was fantastic. So, yeah. Next is, I will say, kind of a surprising but to me that I wanted to annotate, which was Sphere by Michael Crichton. This is a science fiction first contact kind of book. I would say, one, wanting to annotate fiction is a new feeling, and two, I would have never expected to annotate a science fiction book. I would have assumed I would start with more of the literary fiction, right, because those things tend to be more quotable, but this was really good. A lot of these were just passages that there was a lot of really good tense scenes in here, some stuff that really made me laugh that I know I wanted to save and include in my review, so I tabbed that stuff. And there were, you know, obviously this is a first contact alien book, so there were a lot of conversations about, like, what it means to be human, and, you know, human connection, social connection, that, which I thought was very interesting, and I loved a lot of those conversations and topics, so I wanted to keep a note of those. So yeah, and you can see the different colors, they don't mean anything, I just was randomly picking tabs, so yeah. And then the last book I have here is When the Reckoning Comes by LaTanya McQueen. This is a short horror novel, and oh my, it is one of my favorites. It packed a punch. It's great. This book is it's a conversation about racial injustice, right? And so there were a lot of really important topics and conversations, stuff that made you think twice. There were some things that the character experienced coming back for this wedding that was heartbreaking, and the author did such a fantastic job at tackling some of these harder conversations, and I wanted to remember those, so I opted to tab those. And this one is a little bit different because I actually wrote in the book, which I don't typically do when I annotate. I kind of just put the mark wherever the line is that I'm referring to, but I wanted to keep some separate notes about things specifically, and even as far as, I think some of these have like notes in the margins. You know, I wanted to get my feelings down while they were fresh and stuff like that. So again, I don't typically write in my books, but I can see the advantage to doing that. I know a lot of people who annotate, like, highlight stuff. I can see myself doing that in the future, but yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with annotating. Again, very basic compared to a lot of people in the book community. But I think, you know, what you get out of a book is very personal and obviously changes from person to person. So again, I don't annotate all of them. There's even some that I don't really have, like, I don't keep my tabs and a pencil with me at all times. And so there's even been instances where, like, I'm reading it and I'm like, oh damn, I wish I had a tab or something to mark it. Or even some audiobooks that I've listened to that I thought I would like to go back and purchase that physical copy because I want to go back and mark passages and stuff like that. One very good example of that would be Viola Davis's memoir. I listened to that on audio because she narrates it herself. But I actually went back and bought a physical copy because it is absolutely stunning. I loved all the little pictures in it, and I wanted to go back and mark it up. So, that's kind of it for today's video. Very basic. I will link, I got these little tabs off of Amazon. I like them because, like, they don't take up a lot of the page and they're clear. Some of the ones that I bought before were real, like, large and they're not see-through, and so, like, I like to put it by, like, what I want to mark, and so the other ones just aren't functional. But these are small. I like them. There's a lot of different colors. Again, I don't really do much with the colors, but yeah, I will, I'm sure Amazon still has them, so I will link that in the description box if you're interested in checking out the tabs. And yeah, leave a comment down below and let me know if you annotate books, and just let me know kind of like what your process is or why you choose to annotate your books. I'm curious. I know there's some of you out there that go really into it, and you are my heroes. Yeah, so that's it for today's video. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.